Well, we're in the home stretch. We've got just a month of football left here on the third Saturday in October podcast. We're now into November. It's the first Saturday in November, or it will be tomorrow. We are the SEC Tailgate podcast for the rest of us, and things are starting to line up. Things are starting to be sifted out. A little bit of shakeup this last weekend. Only 4 games, but this weekend we're back to 7 games. Everybody playing but Vanderbilt. Get excited. Now is the time to finish strong. I am Tennessee Bradley. I am here with my co-caster, Alabama Chris. Happy November.
I feel like half of this show for the last 3 seasons that we've done this is basically me. Like, I can't wait for the season to start. And then once the season starts, like, I can't believe the season's almost already over. I'm just doing this. I'm always like, I'm never in the now. I'm always in the distant past or the future. But it is weird to now be in really the last month of regular college football before all of the playoffs and the bowl games and all that get started. How did we get to November already? How are we week 10 into all of this stuff? It feels like that we've just been counting down the days before the season starts.
Yeah. And still very few of us have left the houses unless you're college football fans. But we're going to recap last week quickly, and then we're going to move on to this week. So let's jump into the first Saturday in November. So like I said, we only had 4 games last week. I took a nice break from college football, tuned into a couple games. But it's good to have a bye week every now and then just to get some things checked off the honey-do list.
For me, it's being able to really watch college football without having this sense of anxiety or frustration going on in my head. Because when Alabama is playing, I'm anticipating an anxiety-ridden over the start of the game. And then during the game, I can't really enjoy it because I'm looking at all the things that I wish that they would have done differently. And then after the game, even if it's a win, I sit there and I go like, well, but we have all these things that we have to pay attention to. So it's nice to be able to just turn on football, which I did quite a bit last week, and just was able to enjoy it because nobody of consequence was playing for me. So I could just simply enjoy being a fan.
And see, as a Tennessee fan, I don't know. I still can't rest easy even on a bye week because who's going to get hurt? If you're Tennessee, who's going to get arrested on drug or weapons charges? There's always something that's going to happen. Pretty quiet as far as I can tell in Knoxville this last weekend. So that's a good thing. Good job, players. But we did have 4 games. Missouri beat Vanderbilt by only 9. I was surprised. Vandy scoring.
That was definitely a surprise for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Missouri winning 37-28. Georgia, again, just making a statement, 34-7 over Florida. This surprised me. Auburn over Ole Miss, 31-20. The fact that Ole Miss only scored 20 points. I know Auburn can score some points, but where's that Ole Miss offense? I don't know. Then probably the biggest shock to me, Mississippi State winning over Kentucky 31-17. Thought Kentucky was going to do better than that, but stay on that roll for another week, Kentucky, because Tennessee's coming to Kroger Field. Let's see if Tennessee can score some points and keep Kentucky's offense in check. But do you think that it's any possible tie-in the fact that Kroger and Kentucky both start with a K, both are essentially the same colors as far as their branding goes? I mean, I think that like Kentucky should just adopt that K that's behind you there on the YouTube feed. That Kroger old school Kroger logo. I guess Kroger started in Kentucky.
I think
Maybe
so.
whoever, maybe the Kroger family, they were Kentucky fans or Kentucky alums. I don't know. I really
Yeah.
don't know. But all I know is watching games at Kroger Field on TV, something just it's not attractive. I don't the grass is I don't know if it's too green or the blue on the green just doesn't work. The camera angle's funny, the lighting's weird. It's I don't know.
You would think that being Kroger Field, they would make everything look appetizing, even if it's people playing football. But yeah, you're right. There's something unappetizing about the lighting or the way that the field looks.
Yeah, you'd also think there's a turducken on the sideline every week too. That makes me hungry. So
I could go for one of those right now.
Chris, any surprises for you?
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, the fact that Vanderbilt scored 28 on Missouri, that was surprising, but more of the fact of like, well, this shows me not necessarily potential for Vandy, but where Missouri currently is. So it's kind of a sad realization. Woof indeed. Yeah. Florida, Georgia, it's not really surprising. The most surprising thing there is that Florida got a score at all. Ole Miss, Auburn. I don't know if you were paying attention or if those listening or watching were paying attention to what I said last week versus what I actually wrote down. But I said the opposite of what I chose, and so now I don't even remember which was which. But then Kentucky, Mississippi State, that was wild. The fact that like Kentucky looked like that was going to be an easy roll into victory kind of situation, and they were rolled all right. It just wasn't to victory. Their team was rolled by Mississippi State. So some of these surprises that I saw from last week did inform the way my picks were for this week. So I will talk about those in a minute. But that's kind of my surprising thing: Mississippi State really showing up, and Missouri not showing up.
Yeah,
were my two big takeaways. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing about that Mississippi State game is Mike Leach at halftime and after the game saying that the Kentucky defense was simulating State's snap count, meaning State gets set and then the Kentucky defense is yelling out different calls, different signals to mimic State's quarterback and caused several false starts because the offensive linemen think the quarterback's actually calling for the ball to be snapped. So I know Mike Leach was not happy about that.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, if they're going to allow it, we need to start coaching it. So we'll see if Kentucky does the same thing against Tennessee this weekend. That will be kind of the storyline to watch for me up in Lexington.
And what an interesting thing for football in general and sports in general. We talked about this last week to a degree, which is find a competitive advantage.
Yeah.
And then as long as you're not breaking the rules, bend those rules as far as you can until people either catch on or catch up. And it sounds like that right there, being able to say it on TV for Mike Leach, it's like, nope. All right. We're catching on to what you're doing. And now we will all catch up to this. So this isn't an issue in the future. So it didn't seem like it actually worked though in Kroger. There we go. In Kentucky's favor. But something that maybe they were trying to do nonetheless.
Yeah. I don't know if Tennessee's going to have to go. I mean, they go in a hurry up offense anyways, but do they go to a silent count? Do they go to, you have to be good about switching up your snap count and switching up your signals. So we'll see how that happens. Just some news out of Tennessee. I may have mentioned it last week, but Tennessee's third string scholarship quarterback, Harrison Bailey, has decided to enter the transfer portal. Not really surprising because he wouldn't getting a whole lot of playing time.
Yeah.
Ahead of him, we've got Hendon Hooker, who's a senior who could come back next year due to the COVID rules last year. We've got Joe Milton, who I believe is a junior, plus has that COVID year. So he's got 2 more possible years after this year. But Harrison Bailey, a sophomore with 3 more years, junior, senior, and super senior seasons available, could redshirt as well. A little surprising, but maybe what he's getting is Heupel's just not big on him. Our QB coach just isn't big on him. I don't know. Maybe, I wish him luck. He and Brian Maher both entering the transfer portal during the season. And we've talked about the transfer portal a little bit. Why do you jump in now? I think it signals to other teams, hey, I'm looking. So if you want a quarterback, and he was a 4 or 5 star coming out of high school, Harrison Bailey.
Yeah.
If you want a quarterback, let me know. I'm open to hearing offers. So,
and last year he started several games, right?
He did. Just couldn't find the right quarterback last year. I think he was still just green, needed some more development. And it looks like he doesn't want to stick around in Tennessee to get that development. So I know Heupel's got some guys he likes that he's recruiting. We'll see where those quarterbacks end up. Would love to see some quarterbacks come to Tennessee. I started thinking about it. Is it a plus or a minus, positive or negative, that you go to Tennessee where Peyton Manning, one of the greatest college football quarterbacks of all time, one of the greatest NFL quarterbacks of all time, went to school. His name's up there. From what I understand, you get to talk to him every week if you want. But then you have to live up to those expectations of being that great of a quarterback. So maybe it is a deterrent to great quarterbacks going to Tennessee. Maybe it's just that Tennessee hasn't been very good, and I'm just overthinking it. But I did start thinking about that this last week, and not sure how it factors into these high schoolers' decisions.
Yeah, I wonder. It seems like such a selling point to say that, like, put Peyton on speed dial if you have that T on your helmet.
Yeah,
because that's one of the perks of being here. Is one of the greatest that have ever done it. Is willing to talk to you often to try to make sure that you are the best that you can be. Man, it would have been hard for me as an 18-year-old to choose anything over Alabama if I would have had the choice to go somewhere. But something like that would have been a major selling point for me to get excited about putting on that Volunteers jersey.
Right. So, I don't know, that the biggest thing for Tennessee right now is you've got 2 scholarship quarterbacks. Now we do have a receiver who played quarterback in high school. I believe it's Holiday. So could he be
That's right.
3rd on the depth chart? Maybe. Or you got a couple of walk-ons that are available. So let's just hope we don't get there. Let's hope we don't have to find out who that 3rd quarterback is going to be. Let's hope that Hendon Hooker stays healthy. No, he was banged up a couple weeks ago. And if something happens to him, let's hope that Joe Milton can stay healthy and get the job done as well. So,
man, I tell you, for that backup guy, what kind of pressure is it if you don't have a 3rd string quarterback? I mean, there's a pressure of, okay, I didn't win the starting position and I'm in this position. Now this guy, 3rd string guy, is barking at my heels all the time. There's that kind of pressure. But if you then don't have the 3rd string guy, then if your 1st string guy goes down, it's like, this is all on me. If this doesn't happen, we're literally bringing in a wide receiver to throw passes to people or to hand it off. That's its own set of pressure. So I could imagine.
Kentucky did it a couple years ago and beat Tennessee. They beat Tennessee after losing 2 or 3 quarterbacks, brought in a receiver who I think attempted 3 passes the entire game, and they beat Tennessee. So,
wow. Yeah.
Stranger things have happened. But on a sadder note, some news out of former Alabama players. Derrick Henry for the Tennessee Titans broke his foot. He is currently leading the NFL in rushes by almost 400 yards, It's over 300 yards. It's crazy what kind of success he's had this year. Was on pace to, I think, set be the first person to rush for 2,000 yards 3 seasons in a row.
Man,
did all that work contribute to his broken foot? All that stress, or is it just a freak thing? But we hope for a speedy recovery there. And then in even sadder news, Henry Ruggs, who former receiver for Alabama, drafted by the Raiders, involved in a terrible car crash where the driver of the other car passed away. Just terrible, terrible news. And a reminder that things can change so quickly. Both of those former Alabama players, tough news to hear this week.
Yeah, when you texted me that, I think you texted me on Sunday, not long after Derek hurt his foot, that he had gotten hurt and was possibly in line for surgery, if not out for the season. It was, man, that's sad because it's just so exciting to watch him. He's one of the faces of the NFL now. And so the fact that he's so dominant in the reigning SEC, the reigning offensive NFL player of the year, and then kind of in line to repeat that again this year with his dominance. And again, like you've said a couple of times on the show, his output at running back is better than most teams in the NFL's output at running back. So that it's just a bummer to lose such a high intensity, high productive player, period, of where he went to college or who he is now. It's sad. And then with the Ruggs thing, man, for the last couple of days, I've just been walking around my house kind of in a fog of sadness around this. I won't go into too much detail about that, but it's just, to have such potential. And then from everything that I can imagine right now, that all of that potential is now out the window, with the idea that I think that there in Nevada, that kind of issue, there's no chance for not parole, but being on. I think I don't know how they categorize it, but one of his sentences could be from 2 to 20 years in state prison with no chance of parole. And then there's a second charge that does have the option for parole. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. I heard Derek Carr say something, and this does not take anything away from the loss of the innocent person in this that lost their life. I mean, just the idea that is just gone and there's nothing anyone can do about it. It's just enormously sad. But not really knowing that person. I knew Henry Ruggs. I watched him play for Alabama for years. I see how fast he is and how highly anticipated people were for him coming into the league and then having a great year. Derek Carr, his quarterback with the Raiders, said something like, regardless of what the outcome of all this is, that Ruggs just needs some love right now. And again, it looks like that he was at fault with all of this. And so there is definite damage that he will have to answer for the rest of his life, but also just the sadness that one must feel to know that that's his new reality. It's just a bummer. So heart goes out to safe healing for Derrick Henry, and also just everybody that was affected by this thing with Henry Ruggs. It's really sad. So
and we were talking about why does this one hit different? Because players, they get arrested for drug charges, weapons charges. Being a Tennessee fan, I know all about hearing about that every week. But even DUIs, you hear about that a couple times a season, I feel like. But it's generally just somebody getting pulled over. It's rarely a crash that's fatal. And so I think it just kind of gets everybody to stop and think just a little bit. And these guys, they're usually in their 20s, maybe in their 30s, sometimes a little bit older than that. A lot of them think they're invincible. I remember being a teenager thinking I was invincible. And so you think, oh, nothing bad's going to happen. And then something does. Not every time, but there's always that possibility. So it's just very, very sad. And like you said, our
Absolutely.
condolences to the family.
Hmm.
We wish the best for Ruggs as well. We'll just have to see how this all plays out.
Yeah.
So let's move on to this week because we got a lot of games.
A lot of football.
So let's make some picks. Let's look at these games. Starting at Saturday on ESPN at 11 o'clock, Missouri at Georgia. Georgia, a 38.5-point favorite. I think I got to go with Georgia. I mean, can you really pick against them right now?
I know. Yeah. That's my exact thought is that they are seemingly blowing past all the expectations that anybody's had for them this season and exceeding them. And so the idea that, again, I've said on this a lot, that if it goes past 30 points in the spread, I always choose the under there. But Georgia and also Missouri, this is one of those that is like last week's game really has affected my choice here. I don't think that Missouri can keep Georgia from scoring. And I think that Georgia can keep Missouri from scoring and keep them off the field.
Yeah.
And so 38 points feels like an easy thing for Georgia at the production that they're actively being able to execute every week. So, yeah, Georgia in an easy pick.
And then also at 11, Liberty visiting Ole Miss. Hugh Freeze going back to Ole Miss over on the SEC network. Ole Miss only a 9.5-point favorite. But you got to think that they got to bounce back. I mean, I've heard that Matt Corral's been a little banged up. But as much as people loved Hugh Freeze and his offense, I think Lane Kiffin's even better. Lane Kiffin also has some of those NCAA violations in his past. Hopefully they stay in the past. But I'm going with Ole Miss. It may only be 10 points, but I got to believe that Ole Miss should just be better than that 9.5-point spread over Liberty. And I know Liberty's had success, but I don't know. So I'm going with Ole Miss in this one.
This is one of those for me that this could be my age showing. And so I will say that up front, but the players weren't there when Hugh Freeze was there. The players probably were barely in high school once the last time that Hugh Freeze was a coach at Ole Miss. And so I don't think that for the players, there's a lot of that. I think that for us fans, we think of Hugh Freeze coming back to Oxford. It's going to be a cool thing. And that maybe it has some style points there, but I don't think the players are going to be letting up on a Liberty after a loss. And so I feel like that 9.5 points, I would have probably put this more 13, 14 point spread for me. And again, looking at it through my little lens of doing it. So this isn't a professional football analyst looking at this. This is just me as a fan looking at this. I feel like the Ole Miss whoops up on them. So I easily pick Ole Miss.
Yeah. Let's hope Ole Miss fans don't pull a Tennessee and start throwing mustard and golf balls and stuff at Hugh Freeze. Hopefully. Then CBS, the game of the week at 2:30, Auburn travels to Texas A&M. This is a tough one to pick. A&M by 4.5 is the line. And I don't know. I think I got to go with Auburn. I don't know what I'm going to get from Bo Nix, but also don't really know what I'm going to get from Texas A&M either. And 4.5, it is at A&M, but let's see if Auburn can work some magic.
Yeah, well, this is kind of going back as an Alabama fan, and I made my choice based on fear, not based on smarts. So I'm choosing Texas A&M because, dang it, I hope that they win. Because Auburn is on a roll right now, and Auburn is setting up everything that they have to do, which we've seen over the last decade or so that you and I have been following along with the sport together. We have seen Auburn come in and spoil some stuff for Alabama. So it's setting up another season for this to happen again. And so because of that, I am hoping against Auburn playing like they can and hoping that Texas A&M really puts a whooping on them, because I need that it's just a little scary to think that Alabama can only stumble a little bit and they're completely out of everything. SEC championships, possible contention in the college football playoffs. So for that, I am choosing A&M, but because I want them to win and I want Auburn to lose. Again, not because they're my cross-state rivals. I'm respecting what Harsin and the team are putting together, but it scares me as a Bama fan. So I hope that they get a little taste and lose a little bit of that spoiler type season that they are priming up to do to take down Alabama in a few weeks.
Yeah, you need the Texas A&M 12th man to be a little speed bump there for Auburn.
Yeah, they showed up for Bama. Come on, show up for Auburn too.
Then at just a few minutes later at 3:00 on the SEC network, Mississippi State heads to Arkansas. Arkansas, a 5-point favorite. And I'm going with the Hogs. Mississippi State coming off a win. Arkansas still a good team. Though we've kind of forgotten about them because they've had a couple of losses here strung together. So I'm going with the Hogs.
I'm picking against you here for Mississippi State. And again, this is more momentum that I'm looking at. Mississippi State's one of those kind of like Kentucky in the East that is hard for me to choose for because I don't know what they're going to do. They surprise me as much as they disappoint me. So, but because of the idea that Arkansas seems like they started so strong and then they lost 3 in a row or so, that slide, I'm wondering if they've lost a little bit of that fight. And because of that, with Mississippi State having a nice statement win from last week against Kentucky, I'm choosing Mississippi State to maybe continue to ride that a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard one to pick. Then at 6:00, we got a couple kickoffs at 6. This will be our virtual tailgate of the week. LSU at Alabama. Alabama, a measly 28.5-point favorite. But I'm going with the Crimson Tide. I think they want to make a statement. I think Saban's still going to be preaching. Just execute the next play. Don't pay attention to the scoreboard. That's my job. Execute the next play. And I can see Alabama running up the score. Look, they can score quick on defense, on offense. They showed it against Tennessee. So we'll see how the Bayou Bengals fare against the Crimson Tide, but I don't have a whole lot of hope for LSU.
I don't have a whole lot of hope for LSU to win this game, although I said the same thing about 3 or 4 weeks ago when I assumed that Texas A&M was going to get rolled by the Crimson Tide. I'm picking Alabama to win this game, but not to cover. And so I think that, again, because of that, pay attention to the process. I'll pay attention to the scoreboard. You guys pay attention to executing the next play. It seems like Alabama has kind of been not really, you can't really bank on them just to come in there like a Georgia and just, take their opponents and take them to task. So because of that, I think that they win, but I feel like that they're going to win by close to like 18 or so. If it's even that far apart, it could be more of a 2-score game, but somewhere 14 to 18 points is what my thought process is. So I say LSU covers, Alabama wins.
Well, we saw what LSU did to Florida, and we saw that Florida took Alabama down to the wire. So if any of that plays out, I get it. Then my Tennessee Volunteers travel up to Kroger Field and take on the Kentucky Wildcats. Kentucky, I think, started out a 4-point favorite. It's dropped down to, at the time of recording, 1.5. I'm going with Tennessee. I think coming off a bye week, having extra time to prepare for Kentucky, get healthy. We've got some linemen who should be coming back. We got some running backs who should be coming back. Hopefully Hendon Hooker is fully healthy. I know he's been banged up the last game or two. So I'm going with Tennessee to outright win this one. It would be great opportunity to beat somebody who's given us fits here recently, but also have more than just a bowl eligible season, possibly even exceed expectations this year. It sounds nice. It really sounds nice.
As much as I would love to do that, because I mean, if Tennessee actually went into Kroger Field and beat the Wildcats, man, that would make my day as much as Alabama winning against LSU would make my day. I going into Kroger Field, Kentucky coming off a loss that they expected to mop the floor with Mississippi State. I wonder if they're going to have a revenge or comeback in their blood. And so, and that line being so close now, you're right. The fact that it went from 4 to 1.5 means that they, like the experts, don't see Kentucky doing what they would have been anticipated to do earlier in the season. So, man, that's difficult. But I am picking Kentucky because of the revenge factor here. Or not so much revenge, but it's making a statement of that we are still in that upper tier of SEC teams.
Yeah. And if Tennessee plays bad, which could happen, just remember what happened last year. Kentucky could roll all over Tennessee. And then the final game kicking off at 6:30 on the SEC network. By the way, Mississippi State and Arkansas on the SEC network, LSU, Alabama on ESPN, Tennessee, Kentucky on ESPN2, and Florida at South Carolina on the SEC network at 6:30. Florida, a 19-point favorite. I think South Carolina is just bad, and I'm going with Florida. Florida's coming off a loss. They may have some revenge. I don't completely trust that they'll be able to score as many points as they'd like, but I think they can still score on South Carolina. Yeah.
My idea is Dan Mullen. There's been several things said about Dan Mullen, like should he be in the hot seat? Like, does he have what it takes to take Florida to the level that they have the potential to? All that kind of stuff. That is what is in my head when I'm picking Florida to win by 19 against South Carolina. South Carolina is bad. There's nobody arguing that, at least when you compare them to other SEC teams. And so if I just looked at Florida, South Carolina most of the time with the 19-point spread, I would go absolutely Florida. But Florida has been so up and down this season that I would normally, if not for all of this stuff that I've heard this week about Dan Mullen, I would easily pick South Carolina to at least keep it within 19. But because of that, I'm picking Florida just like you. So I think that you and I, out of the 7 games that are going to be played, we picked 1 or 2 or 3 the same, and then 3 or 4 differently. So this will be fun to see how we compare at the end of the day on Saturday.
Yeah. And I don't have winners from last week up in front of me or current standings, but check out our Instagram. There will be screenshots of current standings and last week's winners there from our Pick'em League. The picks are in. So you know what time it is, Chris.
Woo! It's time to pregame, baby.
Tailgate, man cave, living room, pregame, burgers, ribs, chicken wings, chip and dip, pregame, scotch and a lot of IPA, Coca-Cola, pregame, slaying dogs, EA, cornhole, pregame. How you gonna watch?
So it's coming down to the wire for little baby Minigan to pop out. This will be my last Saturday, if he makes it that long, with just one kid in the house. So rushing, going to get a few things done, hopefully, before the eviction notice, and then be a part of the virtual tailgate at 6 during the LSU, Alabama, and Tennessee, Kentucky games. Hey, our teams may not be playing each other, but they will be playing at the same time, both on ESPN, both during our virtual tailgate. So you better believe that's where I'm going to be.
Nice. Yeah. If I am not then thrown into daddy duty and running teenagers all over the county to various things, I'm going to be in front of my TV with all 4 ESPN selections up at one time so I can watch that as well. So that'll be fun. That's what I'm planning to do. Just sit my butt on my chair or in my sofa and watch my TV. It's getting cold out there, man. I can't think of doing anything right now. I haven't gotten used to the cold yet, and we're really feeling it here in the Nashville area the last couple of days with some freeze warnings in the early part of November. So I plan on maybe having the fire on if it's that chilly, just to create some ambiance and some warmth. But yeah, just going to have some fun, eat some snacks, watch some football, and enjoy my day.
I love it. Well, you can join our virtual tailgate as well just by heading over to thirdsaturday.inoctober.com. We'd love for you to join us. We have a big time every weekend. So hope to see you there. There's still time for things to kind of shake out. I mean, the SEC West, there's still time for things to shift. The SEC East, I feel like it's pretty set at the top. It's just 2 through 7. How's that going to shake out? We will see. And some of that will happen this weekend. So buckle up, get ready, and roll Vols.
Well, just like Mr. Pate said over on the 24/7 Sports that he's on there. I forget his feed. Every now and then I watch him just talk about college football. I love that. And he's stating that right now, even at 12, that Auburn right now is still kind of in control of their own destiny to get themselves into the college football playoffs, even over some people like undefeated Wake Forest and those kinds of things, because of who they've yet to play and what statements they can make. And so because of that, I'm nervous, and more than ever, I'm saying, roll balls, baby.
All right. So shortly after we finished recording today's episode, news broke that Tennessee has finished their investigation into wrongdoings by Jeremy Pruitt and his staff, illegal recruiting violations. And they said, hey, we finished our investigation, no bowl ban. It seems like there will be other penalties that they self-inflict, self-impose, I guess is the right word, but no bowl ban. And the reasoning for this, I believe, is because they've severed ties with everyone involved, meaning all coaches, all players who were involved are no longer on the Tennessee team or never showed up, that sort of thing. So hoping that is the worst of it. Probably some scholarships lost. Not sure what else it would be, but that was kind of the big thing is, would there be a bowl ban? I don't know if part of me is like, did they wait until they saw, okay, would Tennessee be bowl eligible? And looking like they might be, maybe that's reason for, hey, let's not ban ourselves from a bowl. Whereas if they had a worse year, maybe they say, let's go ahead, ban ourselves from a bowl, even though we're not going to go, and hope that harsher punishment means that the NCAA won't heap anything else on top. Not sure. We'll have to see how this plays out. But just wanted to give you that update that broke just after we finished recording today's episode of Third Saturday in October. So with that news, roll Vols.